Hi everyone.
Hi.
Today we are making curried sausages. It's kind of like a retro classic in Australia, isn't it?
It's a good old family favourite. Did your mum make it all the time when you were kids?
Yeah. We had something similar to that.
We had apricot chicken, we had curried sausages. But this is super easy as well. That's what I like about this recipe. Like it's pretty kind of basic ingredients you can get from the supermarket mostly, and yeah, just it comes together pretty quickly, and it's pretty family friendly. Like it's pretty mild,
hot, like really spicy.
So I mean, and also you can tweak it to your own taste as well. So if you wanted to make it a bit spicier, that is definitely possible. Okay, so we have all of our ingredients here, and we're actually using this Mingle Curry in a Hurry sachet for our curried sausages today. So we actually purchased this from Low Carb Emporium, and they actually had a few different curry sachet options. So there's a red one and a green one, so you could vary it up for I guess a slightly different curry flavor. This one's pretty kind of mild and basic, like a standard.
That's the one we use.
Yes. As always, the full recipe is linked below if you want to have a look at the measurements and the description and everything. But we have got our Mingle Curry in a Hurry. We have got 600 grams of pork sausages. We're actually using chipolatas, so like the small ones, but you could use larger ones and then kind of cut them up. But I've really enjoyed having the chipolatas.
We like pork as well,
but
you could really use any flavoured sausages you want.
Yeah, I think pork's probably the OG. Yeah. We also have some onion, some ghee. We have got some bone broth or stock. We're just using this Nutra Organics powdered bone broth. I've just made up 1 cup of it here. We've also got some coconut milk, and then we're going to use arrowroot to thicken it. So we're just going to, kind of similar to how you would use corn flour, so you just kind of make a slurry with some of this and some water and then stir that through. So it's a good kind of grain-free alternative to like thickening something with flour.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't check with my mum how she actually made this or anything. I just kind of made it, so I don't know if this is the traditional way of making it, but I fry off the sausages first, take them out of the pan, then I made the sauce and added the sausages back in. So this is just my way of doing it. If you have your own other way, that's cool too. But
I remembered as we were talking, because I was like, Mum did make curried sausages.
Did she boil them?
No. They were like leftover sausages. So they were pre-cooked sausages that were like, if we had a big family get together and Mum cooked 45 kilos of sausages, which is what mums do, then with those leftovers she would make curried sausages.
I have a flashback of my mum boiling sausages, so that just sounds
gross,
unpleasant. But what we're going to do is head over to the stove and start off by browning off our sausages. So I'm just starting out with 1 tablespoon of the ghee in my pan. I'm going to heat it up to kind of medium-high heat, and then we're going to brown off the sausages on all sides. Okay, our sausages have all been browned. They're pretty much cooked. If they're not completely cooked through, that's okay, because we're going to be kind of cooking them in the sauce once we make that. So now we're going to take them out and just set them aside, and then we're going to cook our onion. Now I'm going to add the rest of the ghee from the recipe, but that could depend on your sausages. So if your sausages were really fatty, you might not need to add any more.
So you just want a little bit of fat in the pan for this next step?
Yes, to cook the onions and to cook the curry powder out a bit. So we have our 1 brown onion, just going to add that in. So the heat's probably medium-high. You don't want it to brown, we're just kind of wanting to cook it maybe like so it's kind of translucent. So it'll probably take about 5 minutes or so, and then we'll add in our curry in a hurry. Our onions have cooked down now, so you can see they kind of look like translucent. Cooked, yeah, technical term. And we're going to add in our curry. So we just want to add in the curry powder and then kind of fry it off a bit with the onions and the ghee, and it will kind of make it fragrant and bring out the flavour. So just for a minute or two. Smelling good in here now. You can really smell the curry spices. You could add extra chili at this point if you want, because it is pretty mild, so that's up to you. But now we're going to add in our liquids. So we have got our bone broth, or you could use stock if that's what you have. And then we have our coconut milk. Now, we like it pretty saucy, so there is a lot of sauce with this dish. You could always use a bit less liquid, but I think the sauce is like the best bit.
It definitely is the best bit.
So what we're going to do now is kind of just bring this to a simmer, and then we're going to add the sausages back in. Our sauce has just come up to a simmer, so I'm going to add back in the sausages as delicately as I can.
Without splattering it all over the wall.
That is not guaranteed. So now I'm just going to let it simmer for about 10 minutes or so to kind of all the flavours come together. And then what we'll do is just give it a little taste and see if we want to add some salt, because that will kind of depend on how salty your sausages are, I guess, and also your preference. And then we're going to thicken up the sauce and it'll be ready to serve.
The other thing I will say about the Mingle seasonings is they don't contain salt. So
I think they have a small amount.
Oh, do they?
Usually,
we find we like to add salt as well as the spices. So
yeah. So while our curried sausages are just simmering away there, we're going to get ready our arrowroot to thicken it. So I've just got 2 tablespoons of cold water in here, and I'm just going to add in 3 teaspoons of arrowroot. So you can just get this at the supermarket in like the baking section where like the baking powder and gelatin and all that kind of stuff is. So I'm just going to put 3. It's kind of the same consistency as like corn flour, and then I'm just going to mix that together. It comes together pretty easily. I will say the difference between using kind of arrowroot and using like traditional flour or corn flour is that it can lose its thickness if you kind of add it in and then boil it really rapidly, or perhaps when you're reheating it. So I find it's best to thicken it just before I'm going to serve it, once it's finished cooking, and then just be aware if I'm reheating it that it might not be as thick. With this, obviously you can not thicken it at all if you would prefer, because there are some carbs in the arrowroot, but we really like the texture of it. If you prefer, you could not thicken it at all, or you could use some xanthan gum. So you'd probably just want to take a tiny amount, maybe a quarter or half a teaspoon, sprinkle it on top of the curry and stir it through. Just be very careful with you don't want to use too much because it could get a little bit slimy, but we find this works really well in this recipe. Time to thicken up our sauce. So as you can see, like you could eat it as it is, but I think it's nice if it's thickened, so I guess it's up to you how you like it. But we have our little slurry here of arrowroot and water. Just going to tip it in, and you don't need to, like, it's not like flour where you need to cook it because of the taste or anything. It doesn't really have any sort of taste. You don't have to cook it off or anything. You really just need to add it in and it'll thicken up. You can see already it's thickening up.
So you add it, but we've still got the heat on.
Yeah, right, pretty
really
low. Pretty low. And we're just about to serve it, so I'm just going to turn it off once it's done. You can see already like how thick it is now.
The other thing I will say, when we use xanthan gum, we don't have it on the heat at all when we do that.
Okay, ready. Dinner's ready.
It really is amazing how much that created such a silky sauce once you added that arrowroot. That is amazing. It looks absolutely delicious. It's really hot, but I am going to give it a taste because you know that's my job. the one job.
And you can see, like, we've got a lot of sauce here, so I would recommend serving it maybe with some cauliflower mash or cauliflower rice. That would be really yummy. Or even just like, we would have it with like a whole heap of steamed green veggies, and that would kind of soak it up.
The other thing I will mention is sausages. They can be a little bit tricky to find. Sausages with clean ingredients at the supermarket. Generally, our advice is just look for the lowest carb ones that you can find and use those. Don't sweat it too much would be my advice around when you're buying sausages. We like the Beacon Suns and the Cleavers, but these chipolatas are also perfectly fine.
Also, like, as long as you're not eating them every day, I don't think it's a problem. But you know, whatever works for you. We don't sweat these sausages that we're having. I'm going to taste it now. I mean, it's perfect. It's beautifully, the sauce is so good. I didn't get much of the sauce, but the sausage is delicious. The sauce is creamy. Also, I didn't realize until I watched Erica make it, it's dairy free. Oh, it is dairy free.
So, yes, absolutely delicious. Give it a try. If you're looking for something to serve your whole family that everyone can enjoy, even if you serve carbs to the rest of the family.
Yeah, exactly, that's right.
And then you have your side. I think there's real value in finding meals that the whole family can eat, and you just add the side for you and for them, and then it's so much easier than cooking 2 different meals.
Yes, 100%. But we really hope you give this recipe a go, and you and your family enjoy it as much as we do. We would really appreciate it if you'd give the video a thumbs up and comment below and let us know if you give it a try, because we love hearing that.
Thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
Bye.